Doug. Did you know that today in 1864, the Confederate ship, the Tallahassee, captured 6 Yankee schooners off the New England coast?
You dumb bastard. It's not a schooner, it's a sailboat.
A schooner is a sailboat, Doug.
You know what, JJ? There is no Easter Bunny.
Welcome to the Diehards, the show that digs deeper. That was from Mallrats for all you old dogs out there. Tonight, Doug is dusting off the DDP for the final time as we finish this series. And no, he is not Jake the Snake nor George the Animal Steel, but he is hiding a snake in them boots. Doug is going to show us how to attack our redraft leagues from different spots on the board. We've done the early, we've done the mid. If you missed those shows, make sure you go on our channel and catch those past episodes. And tonight, it's pick 9 through 12. I am your host, JJ Wenner. And as always, I'm joined by the Fantasy Orthacle himself, Doug Orth. What's going on, buddy?
Well, still basking in the glory that was the expo, right? You can do that for a week.
Oh, listen, I'm still hitting the patio every night. My wife wonders where I go when I leave I drive for 6 hours, have a White Claw, and drive back for 6 hours.
That sounds like a great way to spend a summer.
Doug, anything the good people should know before we hit start?
Yeah, we'll keep it short here. Just your typical PPR league, 3 receiver starters. And we decided on pick 11 as far as where we're going to be drafting from tonight.
All right. So as Doug said, we are going to be looking at pick 11. That's where we're selecting from. We might talk about a few picks before, maybe the pick after, but we just wanted to give you an overview of what you're looking for at the end of the draft. We have already published the first 2 episodes on Wednesday and Thursday. But before we hit start, Diehards, if you're ready to draft, connect, and celebrate women in fantasy football, you don't want to miss the Women of Fantasy Football series, part of the Circa Las Vegas Fantasy Championships, this August 19th through the 22nd. It is probably too late for you to register for the live draft and book a trip to Vegas. If you can, go do it. But there is still time to register for the online drafts. Spots are limited. So head to circadraftseries.com/women of fantasy to register today. That's circadraftseries.com/women of fantasy. We'll see you in Vegas. All right, Doug, as we said, you are picking from the 11th spot in the draft. Looking at the draft board itself, we see that we had all the normal, right? The assumed guys going off the board.
Yeah, agreed.
At receiver, we have Jamar, CeeDee, Justin, Puka, and Amon-Ra. At running back, we have Bijan, Barkley, Gibbs, Janty, and McCaffrey. So what are you going to do now with the 111?
This is an interesting spot in that looking down a little bit to, let's say, like pick 14, or at least my 14th ranked player on the big board. There are 3 receivers and 3 running backs. Basically, the next 6 players that I would be choosing from are either running backs or receivers. Obviously, I'm guaranteed to get 2 of the 6 that I want because there's only 2 picks between this pick and my next pick. So this at pick 11 and probably pick 12 for that matter, and maybe even pick 10, but it is, I would say it is almost essential that you come away with 1 of each, if running back and receiver. I'm kind of torn on whether I should go Derrick Henry or Malik Neighbors here. The tiebreaker for me is essentially going to be the Baltimore offense is just that much better than the New York Giants offense. So I do like the idea that either Drake London or Brian Thomas will probably make it back to me. I don't have a problem with either one of those guys being my wide receiver one. You can also make the case, and many people seem to like going running back at this point, just to make sure they are stocked there, and then they can figure out, then they can decide between the 20 or so wide receiver twos. Again, I'm going. It doesn't matter really what spot on the board I'm picking from. I want to come away with. Ideally, I'm coming away with one receiver, one running back with my first two picks, and I don't that much of a difference between the running backs I would be getting in the third round as opposed to what I'd be getting in the second round. So anyway, I already told you I would go with Henry over Neighbors just because the Ravens offense should be that much better than the Giants offense.
All right. Before you make this pick of Derrick Henry, let's say you were at 109, right? This late round. I know that you like CMC over any of these guys, so that's what you would have done.
Yes.
What about ARSB? Where would he fall in? Say he didn't go there.
So, yeah, I have him as my 11th ranked player. So, just to give you an idea, so I have Barkley at 7, Derrick Henry at 8, Malik Neighbors 9, Devon Achane at 10, and Amon-Ra St. Brown at 11, if that helps.
So you would have taken Derrick Henry over ARSB, and that is your pick here at 111.
It is.
Okay.
So Derrick Henry.
Let's see who comes off the board. We have Malik and Nico. So now that you're left with Achane, Irving, London, or Thomas.
This is a great time to mention or remind viewers that the big board is more of a suggestion and not a I have to follow it to the T kind of tool. And so you're going to look at my rankings here and you're going to see 2 running backs ahead of 2 receivers. I've already mentioned to you I prefer starting. Given the choice, I prefer to go 1 running back, 1 receiver. If I'm pressed in one way or the other, I don't mind going running back, or receiver. But I don't. To me, there's not such a big difference between Achane and Irving and London and Thomas that I need to go. I need to do that. I realize that if I was to go receiver here, that the best I'm going to do it in the round 3 is Kenneth Walker or Amarian Hampton, but I'm also fine with that. I don't want to play. I don't want to try to have to force a wide receiver 1 pick in the 3rd round if I don't have to, and that's what I would feel like I'd be doing if I didn't go receiver here. So the decision's going to be between Drake London and Brian Thomas, and I have Drake London 1 spot higher. I think there's a better chance he could push for overall wide receiver 1 honors than Brian Thomas.
All right, so go ahead and take your Drake London. Now, as the mock draft goes, again, we are using the Fantasy Pros mock draft tool. On the left-hand side, you'll see the rankings. Now, Doug, those are your big board rankings, correct?
That is correct.
Where can I or any of the people out there find your big board rankings?
My big board rankings will be on FF Today all month. I have 5 different ones. I'll just rip through them real quick. PPR, non-PPR, half point, Superflex, and FFPC. I'll do version 1 this last week and this week, and I'll do version 2 the week after next, and then basically the final week of the preseason, I believe is what it is. But you can find them at FF Today.
All right. So now it came around. 3 quarterbacks went off the board. The top 2 tight ends went off the board. And your favorite guy, Amarian Hampton, it is gone. Do we reach for Jordan Mason here?
You know what? I wasn't going to, but I'm going. No. Not yet. Not yet. That's at least another round, JJ. I mean,
All
we
right.
all know he's a flex option, not an RB2. Come on, JJ.
It's my bad. Go ahead.
This, I know I already said this with the first round pick. This is interesting. I do like Devontae Adams here. I do like Garrett Wilson here. However, if there was one player, one running back left on the board that I think has a chance to be an RB1, albeit a low end RB1, I think it's Kenneth Walker. And what did I say in the first 2 episodes that we did, JJ? Wide receiver, I think there's probably 20 wide receiver 2 candidates. If not 20, let's say 18. Something.
Well, just
somewhere.
looking at your big board, you have 7 right there.
Exactly.
So one of those 7 will come back to you, obviously.
Exactly. And there's a good chance if the previous iterations of our draft plan shows are any indication, I'll probably see some of these guys in the 5th or 6th round. So, yes, I understand there's an injury risk with Kenneth Walker. However, I love the fact that Clint Kubiak, who's the new offense coordinator there in Seattle, is bringing in the outside zone. It should be a perfect fit for Kenneth Walker's talents. He's got the vision to see the hole, and he's got the explosion to make it pay off once he gets past the first line of defense. So I'm sure that Kenneth Walker, I can't say I'm sure actually that he would make it, because if you look at pick at 112, he went 2 receivers. There's a halfway decent chance that if I let him go, he would get picked off by number 12. So I better get if I think that there's an RB1 candidate here in the 3rd round, late in the 3rd round, I probably need to take him.
Scared money don't make money. Make that pick of Kenneth Walker. All right, so Garrett Wilson, Alvin Kamara come off the board. You still have Devontae Adams or Tet McMillan. I know you like both. Where are you going?
This one is easier, much easier for me. Yes, I do like Teteroa McMillan. However, Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams. He's assuming that Matthew Stafford can play most of the year. And it's a big assumption. What happens
when you assume?
It's a big assumption. I know it's a big assumption. But what have we seen? What have we seen throughout Devontae Adams' career? The floor is 80 plus catches, 1,000 yards, and about 8 touchdowns. I'm hoping Teteroa McMillan can do that. I think he can. I know that even with an average quarterback, Devontae Adams can do that. I think there's also a realistic possibility that Devontae Adams is no worse than the 1B in that offense, and I think in some games, he will be the 1A. We also know that Puka Nacua is an injury risk as well, just given his play style. So there is a decent chance I might be getting the Rams wide receiver 1 for a handful of games if recent history is any indication. So, and this is why I love to go balanced with the first 2 and then first 4 picks, is because if I had went, let's say, Neighbors, London, and I don't know, let's say Garrett Wilson, then I would be almost forced to take Chuba Hubbard, which is not a bad thing, but I'm getting Devontae Adams as a wide receiver 3 now with wide receiver 2 when I think he's a low end 1, and I have 2 running backs that I think could be running back 1s as well. So I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled if the draft, if my pick at 111 plays out this way.
I think he can make the pick. The LA Rams receiver who could, Devontae Adams, goes off the board. Now we come all the way around. We see the last 2 of those top 5 quarterbacks, right? Are they all gone? Well, yes.
Yes.
All right. Sorry, you were highlighting over 1. The top 3 tight ends are gone. So now you really have a dealer's choice here of what you want to do in the 5th.
As you mentioned, the premier quarterbacks, or at least the recognized top 5 quarterbacks, and they're my top 5 quarterbacks as well, they're gone. I'm done playing the quarterback game, or I'm done considering quarterbacks now for at least 3 rounds, maybe 4, maybe longer than that. The 3 recognized top tight ends who are also my top 3 tight ends, they're gone. Tight end can probably wait for at least another round, if not 2 or 3. So what stands out from the rest here as you look on the left panel? There's 1 running back left and five receivers. Okay. And then when you're close to the turn, as I am here, I'm 1 pick away from the turn, the in this case the 5-6 turn. I have to be aware of what the 112 guy, or in this case the AJ Brown name on the 112 owner. He went 3 receivers and running back. What are the odds that he's going to go running back with his next pick? I'd say they're fairly strong. If I let him have RJ Harvey, he'll probably take him. Well, I'd rather have his potential RB2 as my RB3, because I know, first of all, I know the receivers that I have that occupy the top 5 spots on my big board rankings. 3 of them are going to make it to me. I don't think there's any chance that this 112 guy is going to go with 2 more receivers. So I'm going to get my pick of the litter as far as receivers concerned. And the thing, like I said, the one player, the one position that really stands out here is RJ Harvey, because I don't see any other blue on the board on my rankings for quite a while. So I would love to have a flex option / backup bye-week running back option with RJ Harvey's upside. And what do I mean by the upside? Sean Payton annually, his offenses annually devote about 120 to 130 targets in that backfield. RJ Harvey is likely going to see at least half of those targets and probably more. So we're talking about a running back that probably has 150 carry upside to go along with 60 target upside. That's pretty good for a flex play.
All right, make the RJ Harvey pick. We go bing, bang, boom. Sam Laporta, Isaiah Pacheco are off the board, leaving you with every single wide receiver, starting with Waddle, Pickens, J-Mo, Rome, Stefan, and Olave. Where are you going to go? I think I know where you're going to go, but why don't you tell everybody where you're going to go?
Well, I think I'm going to go in a different direction than you think. You have any guesses?
Jameson Williams.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. Yes. And you want to know why? You want to know why, JJ?
Jameson Williams is part of a high-powered offense. We know they're making the transition from Ben Johnson, but we also know that everything we have seen in preseason has shown them dominating the competition in joint practices in their preseason games. He has been an ascending talent who saw his performance go up last year. The young man has seemed to mature, and therefore, I think overall, he is a better chance to play the whole season and not crash out, unlike George Pickens, who, if he doesn't get a target for a game, might literally burn down the entire stadium.
That's right.
Was that good?
You said it very eloquently. Nice work. You
couldn't say it better.
I couldn't say it better.
No,
I'm not gonna try to say it better.
And if I, having talked with you and other people, I also know with Waddle is, if we're talking about preseason, I know preseason doesn't matter to some, but it does show tendencies. The Dolphins have been getting destroyed. The joint practices are ugly. So I am avoiding Miami unless you get points for getting sacked. I'm out of that business. So yeah, I think you're going J-Mo, buddy.
Yep. And the only thing I'm going to add, and this is where kind of knowing the profile of your players helps. So why would I consider J-Mo over the other players here? Because I really have a good feeling about Drake London's and Devontae Adams' floor. Drake London Drake London should be a clear wide receiver 1. Devontae Adams should be a high-end wide receiver 2. What if J-Mo takes that next step and now he's a wide receiver 2? Now you're looking at 3 solid running backs and 2 top 24 receivers, maybe even 3 top 20 receivers. Just really depends on. But to have him have that kind of upside in my wide receiver 3 slot, yeah. And like you said, who knows? I know in the previous iterations of this draft plan, I've taken George Pickens. Just like you said, though, who knows? Can he go all season without pitching a fit? Can he go all season without getting angry or angering somebody else? I don't know. I'll take him if he's there. I'll be happy to have him, but I would just as soon have that huge upside that comes along with Jameson Williams.
All right, at the 602, we are going with my second favorite, Jameson Williams. That's right. Jameson Hutchinson is still number 1 in the Jameson rankings. All right, so we see a lot of guys going off the board. 2 more tight ends, 3 more quarterbacks. But I'm saying you have nerves of steel. You're not nervous about either of those positions. I'm thinking you build on the strength you already have and take probably, looking at your board, I say you go with a wide receiver here.
I believe you're right.
Yes.
So why? Just like you said, look at the board. 5 tight ends. There's no reason for me to, yes, I like Evan Ingram. You know what else I do? I also like Mark Andrews. I look at the 112 guy, he's already got his tight end. I don't need to sweat tight end. So, and if he does take a tight end, well, that just leaves me with a better player on the next turn. So I'm not sweating tight ends. The decision here, I know I have Khalil Shakir fairly high. That's really not a consideration at this point because we don't know about that ankle. And even still, I don't know. I'm still not at the point where I'm moving him down yet, but it's probably going to happen sooner or later just because we don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1. The rankings that you see on the left panel are actually my overall rankings. So Stephon Diggs is 56. And the next closest guy that I would be considering is Jacoby Myers at 78 and Emeka Egbuka at 81. Tell me, even though that New England's wide receiver 1 isn't a desirable position or wasn't one last year, can you tell me with any certainty, JJ, that Stephon Diggs won't be a top 30 receiver?
Can I tell you that he will be or won't be?
Either or, but I said, can you say with any certainty that he won't be?
I don't think he's going to be a top 30 wide receiver.
Really? No, I mean, there's a very real chance that that's true.
I think Trevion Henderson's receiving chops, I think you couple that with Demario Douglas getting a lot of love in the slot. Hunter Henry's going to eat. He worked very well with Drake May. I mean, Stephon Diggs is going to get his targets. He's coming off an injury. I'm not touching him that often because he tends to fall to me. And when he falls into the later rounds, I'll grab him. But in the 7th and 8th, I don't know if I'm taking him that high.
I like your reasoning. I have to, while you were talking, I had to consider maybe I need to take one more swing at running back before coming back around because again, I'm not really sweating receiver either because 112 already used his first 3 picks on receiver. The odds that he's going to go back into the receiver well are not that great. And even if he does, is he just going to take Diggs? I don't know. So
you probably, I didn't even see you scrolling down, but I would assume like J.K. Dobbins and Jordan Mason are next on your list.
As far as running backs, yeah, they're the next 2. So I won't say I'm stuck here, but I feel like I feel I can say with some degree of certainty that Evan Ingram, who I love, will be there at 802. And I did go into this thinking I was going to go Diggs, but the more I think about it, I'm going to go down my board just a little bit more, and I'm going to continue to beef up that running back position. And because quite honestly, as I look down the board a little bit more, we're looking at, of the next, say, 15 to 20 players, I'm going to say half of them are receivers. And I'm not sure that Stephon Diggs has much higher upside than Jacoby Myers or Emeka Buka, even Josh Downs. Yeah, I think I've changed my mind since we started talking here. So I'm going to go Jordan Mason here just to continue beefing up that running back position. And because if there's 20 wide receiver twos, there's probably another 10 to 15 wide receiver threes. It's such a ridiculously deep position this year.
So again, just for the people listening, when you have your rankings, that's not the order you have to draft players in. You are building a complete and balanced team. So what Doug just demonstrated was the fact that even though he probably has 10 guys listed above the guy he's about to take, he's reaching because he knows what he can do with the next couple picks. So plan ahead and go ahead and take your buddy and mine, Jordan Mason.
Just hearing you say those words, just rains over me.
They flow out. They flow off the tongue so sweetly. Jordan Mason, it is. Bing, bang, boom. Najee Harris and Kyler Murray have gone with the next two picks. You can take anybody you want here. We're in the 8th round. Do you take a tight end or do you now take another wide receiver? I want to see what you do.
Well, the decision is going to be between those top two players on the board. And given how you know and I know how I feel about Evan Ingram, it's about time that he comes off the board. And yes, Diggs is staring me in the face like he was 3 picks ago. Again, I'm just looking at that board and I'm looking down. I'm seeing Jacoby Myers. I'm seeing Buka. I'm seeing Downs, Jennings, Pittman, Reed, Jaden Reed, Deebo Samuel. For all these guys would be at worst, they're going to be my wide receiver 4. I already have my flex spot in theory filled with RJ Harvey. So I'm not in a huge, there's not a huge demand or not a huge need for me to go Diggs here if I don't want to, especially when I have my tight end 4 still on the board. So I won't say it's an easy pick, but I'll say just for the sake of getting one step closer to rounding out my starting lineup while also staying somewhat in my value sphere, I'm going to go ahead and select Evan Ingram here.
It's not the Tennessee 2-step. It's the Doug Orth 1-step. So he is taking Evan Ingram just for shits and gigs. Let's see what comes around here in the 9th and 10th round. Unfortunately, Stephon Diggs did go. A bunch of other running backs went. So luckily you did get Jordan Mason, or you would have been crying right now. And now you have some tight ends, but you also still have Buka, Downs, Pittman, and Reed staring at you to bolster your wide receiver depth. You wouldn't go quarterback here quite yet, would you?
Just too much value left on the board at receiver. I'm not going to say I would go a second tight end, but if Mark Andrews lasts much longer, I might. But just having, I can almost say with some degree of certainty that I'm going to go 2 receivers with my next 2 picks, just because the idea that I could have someone with the upside of a Buka as my wide receiver 4 and maybe the floor of Michael Pittman or Josh Downs as my wide receiver 5. At that point, I may not need to take another receiver. I probably will, but I don't need to. Just
something else to note. Every other team has a quarterback. Now, unless they're drafting their backups. Let's go ahead and see what happens if you take Buka.
Yep.
All right. 2 running backs, Dowdo and Blue. Guy must be a fan of Dallas and former Dallas
Wow.
players. At least somebody is at 10:02. You said you're going to double dip. Is this where you take Downs or Pittman? What do you think about Indy? Who's it going to be?
Given that Anthony Richardson can't seem to stay healthy for more than 2 weeks at a time, I think it's going to be Daniel Jones at quarterback, and that plays a big role in who I'm going to take here. If I thought it was going to be Anthony Richardson, then I will probably rank Michael Pittman ahead of Josh Downs. I think it's going to be Daniel Jones for more of this season than it is Anthony Richardson, just because we have no reason to believe it's going to be Anthony Richardson for any length of time. So with that in mind, I remember last year at this time, you and I were talking about Josh Downs being criminally underrated. He might have, I don't know if he made my team on every one of our draft plan episodes that year, last year, but I know he made it on like 70% of my high stakes rosters. So I don't mind having him as depth.
Okay.
So I don't care about quarterback right now. Just like you said, anybody that takes a quarterback now would be drafting their backup. And if they do that, guess what? It pushes one player further down, closer to me that I might. And I'm still thinking value at this point. So Josh Downs, unless you have something to add, I'm going to go ahead and do the click.
Go ahead, make the pick. Let's see what comes back to you. Because I would assume in one of the next 2 rounds, you would take quarterback. No other quarterbacks came off the board, a bunch of tight ends. So again, you have your pick. Caleb, Dak is available, Justin Fields, Drake May, JJ McCarthy. All these guys are available. So I wouldn't take any of them in the 11th. I'd wait to the 12th at least. And maybe take a little bit more depth at a position.
You're right. It's been the same thing with every one of the shows so far. I mean, Caleb Williams, Dak Prescott, and Justin Fields, among others, are still available in the 11th round.
Too.
And Brock Purdy, yes. JJ, and I'm a big fan of JJ McCarthy as well.
You're just a big fan of JJ's in general.
That's Jameson, JJ, Jody. If it's a J, I probably like it or draft against it or something.
So what are you going to do here? Are you going to take a backup tight end? Or are you going to go for, I don't know, a wide receiver? Get a little bit more depth? You have what? 4 running backs, 5 wide receivers, 1 tight end.
I don't know that I could ask for this draft to play out much better than it has for me. Do I need a second tight end? Not really. Do I make sure I have one at the end of drafts? Not really.
Okay.
But I can't go wrong with either one of the 2 guys on top of my board. And I don't mind if you make this pick, JJ, because I think Tucker Kraft has... There is a world where he's a top 5 tight end this year. I'm not saying that he is, but there's a world that he is. Jake Ferguson, you can pretty much write off last year just because I'm not sure he was healthy for more than half the season, and then Dak was gone for half the season.
Yeah, the half he was healthy for wasn't Dak's half. I would definitely go. I mean, my Jake Ferguson love. To change it up, let's take Kraft.
Yeah, because I was going to say you could also make the case that if you believe that Evan Ingram is a volatile fantasy player, which you could make that case, I think Jake Ferguson gives you more of a floor. But I don't have a problem with going upside either, because I don't think Evan Ingram is that much of a risk. But you said go ahead and change it up and go Tucker Kraft.
Let's go Tucker Kraft. My mom worked at Kraft Foods for about 30 years before she retired. So it's a good connection. Now, this is where I would stop playing chicken with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
We're in the 12th round. I want my guy. Caleb, Dak, Fields, Purdy. One of those guys I'm going with. Sometimes for me, if there's a couple that I have about equally ranked, I look to see if I have any other players and maybe do a stack. But I don't think you do.
I don't believe I do either. I would have to go Jared Goff or somebody like Jared Goff to get a stack. Yeah.
Oh, dear God, no. I mean, I know this is going to be the same for the past 3 shows, but I would go Dak.
Yeah, you said it. There's at some point. Okay, so my next 2 receivers are Rashad Bateman and Cedric Tillman. When am I logically going to play those guys?
Only if there's a bus accident and the rest of your team is injured.
Okay, Jake Ferguson's still there. When am I going to play my 3rd tight end? And
Never.
I don't see a running back on my list either, which with all things being not all things being equal, but I should note that I do think Jalen Wright has flex level upside. I think Braylon Allen does too. Common guy who unfortunately we're not going to talk about during any of these episodes because he's going too late, and he's going to be a player that I am so overweight on it's not even funny. But I could even make the case to take him here, but I'm not going to. But yeah, I do think Kamanungai is going to be somebody that people are going to look back at week 10 into the season and say, why did I let the fact that he was a 7th round pick keep me from taking him or keep me from being interested in him? So anyway, to bring this series to a nice little end here, I'm going to do what you recommended a few minutes ago, and I'm going to go Dak Prescott for this 3rd consecutive episode. Why? Because they're going to pass the hell out of the ball in Dallas, and when you have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and Jake Ferguson to throw to, tells me you have a really good chance at 4,000 plus yards and 30 plus touchdowns. So I'll take that all day. So Dak Prescott.
All right. So Dak Prescott is the move. We are done with the mock draft. Did I plug Jody Smith? I don't think I did this pod. So if you want to crush your draft this season, then you need to access one of the most accurate rankers in the game, Jody Smith's 2025 fantasy football rankings with tiers exclusively at fulltimefantasy.com. Football season is back, and Jody's legendary cheat sheets is ready to help you dominate draft day. Ranked number 2 overall last year in Fantasy Pros Accuracy Contest, Jody's work is trusted by many serious fantasy players and is proven to win leagues. Use code BLITZ50 for 50% off your first 2 months and get early access to the rankings, tiers, and members-only content. Sign up again now at fulltimefantasy.com. Use code BLITZ50. Go pro. Join Full-Time Fantasy. Doug, it is time for goodbyes. Let everybody know where they can find you.
I mentioned it earlier in the episode. I have big boards dropping all this month. That's the PPR, non-PPR, half point, FFBC, Superflex. That started last week and is carrying over this week. Then I do it again, version 2, that next week and the week following that. That's what is coming up at FF Today over August. As far as what's happening at the huddle, I am publishing a offensive line rankings piece tonight, and then I will be doing a 12-part series in what a drafter should think, or at least should do or should think with picks 101 through 12. So basically a draft plan for each of the 12 spots.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Please like and subscribe. I'm at JJ Wenner on the socials. You can follow the pod at FF Diehards on X. We will be back next week on Thursday at 8 p.m. with special guest Marcus Grant. Until then, remember, love yourself, know your worth. You are enough. Boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.